bass tournament fishing, crowd excitement, indoor weigh-ins, spectacular light shows and headline entertainers, and bass fishing heroes with fishing fans and cheering crowds. Product endorsements, bassin' for big bucks on the $3 million Bass Angler Sportsman Society's tournament train. It's the all-American dream come true. But pro bass fishing didn't start big. Its beginning was spawned in the back room of this building in Springdale, Arkansas. Tournament bass fishing, as it's known today, is the offspring of Ray Scott, Mr. Bass, who began it all right here in June 1967.
You know, it's hard to believe that 25 years have passed and, gosh, a lot of water's going under the bridge. But right here, the Chamber of Commerce, I made a proposition for them to sponsor our first bass fishing tournament. That was 25 years ago. Chamber of Commerce had a big board meeting, and after due consideration, they turned me down on the sponsorship proposition. But they did like the idea. They certainly wanted the prospects of having a big crowd of people come to Springdale. But they said they couldn't pay any money, couldn't do any more than allow me to use a small office in the back of their building. But that was enough. It got me started, and off we went. So let me show you that little office right now. This is the office right here, the JC office behind the Chamber of Commerce. And they allowed me to use it, and I used it for about 6 weeks to promote that very first tournament. We ended up with 106 fishermen from 13 states, and by the time we got those 106, the Chamber of Commerce and the town of Springdale and everybody in Arkansas was excited about the event. But it all started here, and today we're celebrating that 25th anniversary and look forward to a great week in Springdale and at Beaver Lake.
25 years. The names are the same. The faces, like bass fishing, have matured. 19 of the original 106 contestants who entered the first All-American Invitational Bass Tournament in June 1967 are here. Stan Sloan, the $2,000 top winner, parlayed his fame into a lure manufacturing business. Bill Dance, the runner-up, is now the popular TV star of Fishing with Bill Dance. Bass fishing legends, they're all here. Don Butler, the very first member of BASS and 1972 Bassmasters Classic World Champion. Tom Mann, creator of Scented Jelly Worms. Forrest Wood, the Ranger Man, Mr. Bass Boat. Bassin pioneers. They blazed the trail along with Big Ray Mursky and Charlie Spence, here for the memories, not the money. 78-year-old Luther Chappell of Kentucky on board to add another patch to his brag jacket, and still going strong. The 25th anniversary of professional bass fishing. Yes, a cast for cash living. Larry Nixon of Bee Branch, Arkansas, will soon be the sport's first $1 million winner. Bass fishing stars, sports heroes, Rick Clunn, 4-time world champion, and Roland Martin, 9-time Bass Angler of the Year. Guido Hibdon, Ken Cook, Peter Tilaveros, Denny Brower, and Jimmy Nolan. The recent vintage of bass fishing greats. Where would they be today? For that matter, where would the sport of bass fishing be without Ray Scott and his crazy idea of organized bass tournament competition? It almost didn't hatch. Even in Springdale, Arkansas, the chicken-picking capital of the world. Chamber of Commerce manager Lee Zachary remembers.
You're looking at the biggest fish that Ray Scott ever caught. That's me. My life was happy. I'd been here 4 months, no problems. A good Chamber of Commerce manager. And all of a sudden, I get this call. Hey, Leo, buddy, this is your friend Ray Scott from Montgomery, Alabama. I got the All-American Bass Fishing Tournament, and you've been selected to have this fishing tournament on Beaver Lake in Springdale, and we're going to give away $10,000. So I said, come on up here. We want to talk to you. We've heard all about you. He comes up. I go meet him at the airplane. I said, where's the rest of your men? He said, I don't have anybody. That's why I thought you had a tournament. He said, I'm going to form one. I said, you all by yourself? And he said, yeah. And I said, where are you going to get the $10,000? He said, well, we're going to raise it up here. Boy, I said, my hopes as a chamber manager just went down the drain.
And Ray Scott's dream might have been sucked down, too, had it not been for Dr. Stanley Applegate.
I did advance Ray $2,500 with the idea, you know, that he'd put this thing on. If it goes, fine. If it doesn't go, and like he said in the thing, just don't tell my wife.
laugh, but Ray Scott's first All-American tournament changed the course of fishing events and lives.
Well, in 1967, when I left the Beaver Lake tournament, I went home and I was selling cars at Alpha Carroll Pontiac, and Dance was working at Stratton Warren. I quit my job and tried to talk him into quitting his, and started making fish bait. He didn't quit his job about a year later, but I sure am glad I did.
And there's many fishermen within the sound of my voice right now that would not be doing what they're doing today had it not been for Ray Scott.
Ray put everything he had on the line. He quit his insurance job. He based his entire future on the success of this first tournament, worked very hard at it. But there were some other guys who did the same thing. Some young guys at that time quit their jobs, some guys that had good jobs. And I'd like to kind of take my hat off to them and to tell these young people who are aspiring to be fishermen that you can do it. It just takes dedication.
Just
And
recently,
Bill Dance recalls a favorite Ray Scott story.
I had the opportunity to fish with him. He was in the back of the boat, and we were fishing along down the bank. And I just happened to look off the right side of the boat, and I couldn't believe what I saw. There's a bass about 9 to 10 pounds, just cruising along, that was blind in one eye. And I said, Scott, Scott. He said, what? I said, get up here, get up here. He said, what? I said, get up here quick, get up here quick. I said, look at that bass with one eye. And he went,
Where? Where?
Stay tuned. The Bassmasters will be right back with the 25th anniversary All-American Bass Tournament from Springdale, Arkansas, the birthplace of play-for-pay bass fishing. Hickory Creek Marina, Beaver Lake, Arkansas, June 10th, 1992. Start of the 25th anniversary All-American Bass Tournament. A lot of things have changed since Ray Scott's first try at an organized bass fishing tournament. Organized might be the key word. The 106 anglers in the first tournament had the option of starting at any of 6 boat docks scattered around Beaver's 31,000 acres and 480 miles of shoreline. The official weigh-in took place on the back lot of a poultry farm between Springdale and Rogers. But Ray Scott made chicken salad out of chicken feathers. Today, the Bassmaster Tournament Trail, sponsored by the Bass Angler Sportsman's Society based in Montgomery, Alabama, is highly organized. The tournament pros go through a checkout line. BASS officials check boats for operating live wells, running lights, functioning safety kill switch, and life vests that must be worn anytime the outboard motor is cranked. Today's bass boat is a product of the Bass Tournament evolution. At the first All-American, 12-foot aluminum John boats with bench seats, an 18-horsepower kicker, and a rope fish stringer would qualify as a tournament rig. Some contestants had tackle boxes almost as large as their boat. And Ray Scott and Bassmasters had not yet figured out they could recycle bass. Catch and release was over the horizon. There was no size limit. In the 1967 tournament, they fished for meat, black or white bass. Fish came to the scale on stringers. One angler had a limit in a coffee can. The Springdale Chamber of Commerce donated the catch to charity. Today, the bass escaped the fillet knife. Conservation, conserving the resource is key. Penalty points, ounces, are deducted for dead bass. Each angler's daily creel is carefully handled and quickly scored, then returned to the water with the use of a live release boat. Survival rates in BASS studies show 95 to 98% success for released bass. The daily limit for this 25th anniversary tournament is 7, largemouth, smallmouth, or spotted bass, and must measure at least 12 inches. Besides the original 19 old-timers, there are over 250 entries. Compared to the first $10,000 payout, things have improved tenfold. There's $104,000 on the line. And Ray Scott has promoted the Springdale Chamber again. Lee Zachary's group, Scott, and the 19 old guys have put $10,000 into a special senior division tournament.
I won't tell you what, if it's sticky.
And Beaver Lake has changed. The flooded timber and submerged structure, for the most part, is no more. However, Beaver's water clarity in the main lake is still gin clear, making it tough to catch fish in bright, sunny conditions such as today. Up the White River, there's off-colored water. And savvy modern-day professionals like Ron Sheffield of Arkansas knows that bass bite in stained water on bright, sunny days. Sheffield has hit the mother lode. He's catching bass, cast after cast on a Carolina-rigged floating worm. But these Beaver Lake bass have a problem. Their tail grows too close to their chin, short, shy of the 12-inch size limit. But with this much experience on the water, some pros are bound to figure out the bigger fish location. As we'll learn later, flipping bushes around islands further up the White River is the best big fish pattern today. And here's Oklahoma's Tommy Biffle to weigh in.
7 bass, all alive. He may be our leader. He's coming up, folks, with an incredible bunch of fish. Watch the basket and watch the weight. 19 pounds. 1 ounce, mark him and send him home. Bingo! Hold up 2 of the bigger fish. Folks, he's got a whole bag of giant largemouth. Not just one, but a whole wad of them.
This 25th anniversary tournament may not take so long. Tommy Biffle has a commanding 8-pound, 6-ounce lead after the first round. It's close for second with Basil Bacon, George Cochran, Bruce Benedict, and Jack Graham only ounces apart. In the anniversary division, Carl Dias, an original Memphis Bass Club member, grabs the lead with 6 pounds, 14 ounces. 70-year-old Charlie Ray, who fished with Dias that first day in 1967, is second, followed by Tom Mann and Bill Dance. Stay tuned. The Bassmasters will be right back with more fun and games and memories from the 25th anniversary BASS tournament at Springdale, Arkansas. Day 2. Tournament leader Tommy Biffle is fishing flooded willows up the White River. Today, it's overcast. Flippers usually prefer sunny conditions to lock the bass on structure, but Biffle is doing okay.
That way. He's a small one, but he'll work.
Basil Bacon, in second, returns to a stand of flooded timber in the War Eagle arm. But the school of bass that produced over 10 pounds is gone, or not biting. George Cochran's spinnerbait pattern is still getting results, but thus far only small fish, non-keepers. He was only 1 ounce behind Bacon yesterday. And both contenders can move up if they get the fish to bite.
Not big enough.
All-time BASS money winner Larry Nixon started today in 70th place, nearly 15 pounds behind Tommy
He is
Biffle.
about $50,000 from topping the $1 million mark on our trail, and folks, he's gonna move a lot closer. Watch what happens. 18, 19 pounds, 8 ounces. That moves him way up there. This will put him in the lead in this tournament if I'm right. Folks, this is what makes championship stock.
Larry Nixon, with a 2-day total of 23 pounds, 10 ounces, moves on top the leaderboard. George Cochran and Mark Davis of Arkansas move up. And first-round leader Tommy Biffle slides to fourth, now over 3.5 pounds behind. In the senior side tournament, Jim Rogers of Lamar, Missouri, pulls into the lead with 9 pounds, 12 ounces. Yesterday's leader, Carl Dias, slips a peg. Don't go away. The Bassmasters will be right back with the final round of the 25th anniversary All-American Bass Tournament from Beaver Lake, Arkansas. The final day, and tournament leader Larry Nixon is pumped up.
boy, did he ever eat it.
Hell,
I've always been a firm believer that when bass don't have the right kind of watercolor or the right kind of cover in shallow water, that they always go to the break lines or the old channels or some kind of a good sharp drop-off, and that's where they spend the rest of the year once the spawn's over with, unless you have some different conditions that brings them back in. And, you know, lakes that have an abundance of spotted bass, they even have more of a tendency to go to the channels. And when I mean channel, I'm saying the old river channel down there. Wherever it comes close to a point, that's where they like to hang out. And when something brings the bait fish in, either a little bit of wind or cloud cover or whatever the conditions are, they get active and they'll start chasing them on the surface. And when they're not active, they're down somewhere between 15 and 40 foot deep. And they get a little harder to catch once they go down because they don't have cover to hold around. You know, it's easier to locate them with a topwater bait if you can get them to come up. And that's why I say a spook and a boy howdy was my two key lures, because not only did they catch my big fish for me yesterday when it was cloudy and rainy, but they'll also locate the fish for you once they move, if they'll still come up and hit.
The wind and waves make it tough to fish at topwater effectively, but Mark Davis is doing it.
Little one. Little spot. Believe he'll make it. He might.
Yeah, buddy, that's the one I needed.
Jim Rogers has fished almost 3 days inside of the Hickory Creek weigh-in. He's catching fish and trying to hold on to the lead in the old-timers division. And at the final weigh-in, Jim Rogers keeps the lead.
First prize was $2,000. And Jim, I got to ask you, you're here right now. I think you're going to win this tournament unless some young 55 or 60-year-old squirt slips in and beats you.
Well, I caught all the fish that bit.
Now, Larry Nixon, the overall tournament leader.
Weigh him now. There's a man, the money winningest man in the history of BASS. 12 pounds, 14 ounces, and we got us a winner. Just show us the world. Bingo! All men are not created equal. Larry, congratulations. You won another, it appears.
I hope so. It's not over, you know. George is still out, Mark Davis is still out, and a couple big fish could put them right up there, but boy, it's been a good tournament, I'll tell you.
What do you think about Beaver Lake?
I'm impressed. I'd always been told that Beaver Lake was not a very good lake. But I got news for y'all. There's more bass out there in this lake than a lot of lakes that I've been to all over the world. And, I mean, everywhere you go down there, there's not a point down there that's not loaded up with bass. They're just hard to catch.
Yes, for us mere bass fishermen, they're tough to catch. But thanks to the pros and 25 years of sharing their bass fishing how-to tips, we're cutting the time between bites. Bassmasters cheer the modern-day tournament heroes and still appreciate the pioneers, the old-timers who started it all 25 years ago. Right now, it's time for the Pros Pointer, the how-to section of the Bassmasters. Brought to you by Wrangler, the most comfortable jeans known to man.
You know, it's kind of unique that the 25th anniversary tournament was won on a topwater bait, because that's the same type of bait that Stan Sloan won it on 25 years ago. To me, the Zara Spook has been one of the best topwater baits that's ever been around, and it's the primary lure that was responsible for me winning this tournament. There was many fish that I called up out of deep water that would hit the spook and wouldn't take it, but I could find them with it. It was my look bait. Those I didn't catch on the spook on them certain places, I'd go back and catch them on a Carolina rigged worm. But it did take a unique bit of action to catch these fish. You had to work it real slow, make long casts, stay way away from the fish, and make repeated casts to areas where the fish were, because if they knew you was there, they was history. You didn't catch no more of them.
Thanks for joining us for the 25th anniversary celebration of the first All-American Invitational Bass Tournament. We hope you enjoyed it. Next week, the Bassmasters cameras will catch up with the pros on John H. Kerr Reservoir for the $214,000 Virginia Invitational at South Hill, Virginia. Learn how the pros adjust to a falling lake level to catch bass. We'll see you right here next week. The Bassmasters has been brought to you by Ranger Boats. We still build them one at a time. Johnson Outboards. Wouldn't it be nice if everything else were as dependable as your Johnson outboard? Abu Garcia, the world's finest fishing tackle. Chevy Trucks. More people are winning with the heartbeat of America. Today's truck is Chevrolet. Lubramatic, the lubrication specialists. Motor Guide, the choice of serious fishermen. Berkeley Power Baits, fortified with flavor and scent enhancers so powerful fish just won't let go. Bass Pro Shops, world's largest supplier of premium tackle. DuPont Stren Fishing Lines. Wrangler, the official jeans and shirts of the Bassmaster Tournament Trail. And the Bass Angler Sportsman Society, the world's largest bass fishing organization.